Hello, greetings everyone. I'm Amanda Miller, Director of Mental Health and Wellness at Hebron Academy, and today I'll be guiding you on a recipe for health, immunity building. It's full of probiotic and prebiotics for your healthy gut, which helps with your nervous system and your whole body. Thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at amiller@hebronacademy.org. So all you'll need today is a beautiful head of cabbage, some garlic, some sea salt, and some dill. You're welcome to add extra flavors that are found in pickles, like peppercorns or mustard seed. You can even add some green onions if you like. You can jazz it up with whatever flavors you're craving. This is a recipe I originally found for sauerkraut in the Nourishing Traditions book. It has a lot of really nice recipes for fermented vegetables. And this is a sea salted fermented vegetable. Other fermentation recipes may call for whey, a byproduct of cheese making. But I just use a Celtic sea salt, but you can use any table salt. But with that head of cabbage, you just chop it up any old way into bite-sized pieces that you could pop into your mouth. So not as fine as coleslaw, just because it's fun to have a little crunch. You chop that up with a nice knife. And I'm using a whole head of regular green cabbage that stores really well. And this is what contains the prebiotic fibers. I'm using just a stainless steel bowl to just slough all my cabbage off into. Freeing up some space for my garlic. And my garlic I'm using 3 bulbs. So you break up all the cloves. And then I like to pop them open with a knife. So how I do that is I just hold the flat end of the knife on top of a clove and just smash it with the palm of my hand. And I set aside each of the cloves after I take off the peel. But yeah, when you smash it, it releases some of the flavor and the peels just come off effortlessly. And I'm doing this outside, so some of the skins are just flying away in the wind, which is quite handy. Thought I'd give you a little farm to table experience here in front of our compost piles over there and across the street from the community garden that Miss Bonus and I are working at. We just planted 3 rows of potatoes. She found an Easter egg blend, which has purple and pink and yellow and white. And I found some Yukon Gold and red Norland potatoes, which grow really well in Maine. The soil just seems to be perfect for it. And we have lots of healthy earthworms in our garden right now. So we're gonna have some happy garlic growing that came up from the planting last fall. And we have some chives that are perennials in our garden that are really healthy. And you can use those actually in this recipe instead of the green onion. So this is the only labor intensive, but it's kind of fun. Get your aggression out, pounding away. And the garlic, of course, everyone's heard, it scares away all the bad bugs. It's an antiviral. And we like lots of garlic when there's viruses around. So the more the better, as long as you share with your friends. So when I first saw the recipe for sauerkraut, it looked so simple. It was just cabbage, and you could add salt and pepper and some caraway seed. And then there's all different variations you can do according to your taste. You can add radish or carrot or ginger or red chili pepper and make kimchi. That's a fun one to try. Super healthy. And this one I made inspired by being a mom and having kids that love pickles. I'm like, how do I get them to eat cabbage? And the answer was to make it taste like a dill pickle. Now they'll eat a cup of this incredibly healthy food without any fries. They just down it. I bring it on picnics and we have it as a side. Makes a really nice side if you're having some like barbecue. And yeah, so 3 bulbs of garlic is what I like, but if you are less of a garlic fan, you could go with 1 or 2. And this batch will make, I have a ½ gallon here, but if you want to make less because you're not sure you're a big fan, you could cut this recipe in half or in thirds. So you could use, you know, 1/3 of a cabbage, 1 bulb of garlic, but I just make sure I don't chop off the digits, and I kind of make a big pile of my garlic and start chopping away until they're about the size of peas. They don't have to be too fine, but they're a flavoring, but they're also amazing, crunchy pickles once they ferment with the cabbage. And I know what you're thinking, wait, fermented food, how could that be good for me? Well, when you have the salt added to, it prevents any bad bacteria from growing. And so only the healthy bacteria survives. And you're gonna leave it out on your counter in a jar with the lid closed for 3 days. If you have a really cold house, you could leave it out for a little longer. If you have a really warm house and the jars start to leak from the top, they might start bubbling over. You could crack the lid and end up eating it a little bit early, but it stores in the fridge after that. So I'm adding green onion, but you can add chives or omit the onion altogether. So to this beautiful blend of veggie, I am looking at making a ½ gallon right now. So you want about 4 tablespoons of salt. So each quart gets 2 tablespoons. And that's what keeps it from growing any bad bugs. I'm gonna also add some peppercorns because I like the spice. I'm gonna add 3 or 4 tablespoons. I don't eat a ton of these whole, but it adds a really nice flavor. If you happen to have dill seed, you can add that. It adds another layer of dilliness. And I like mustard seed as well. If you like mustard pickles, you can add 4 teaspoons of mustard seed. Look at that beauty. With the dill, you can add as much as you'd like. I'm gonna add 4 tablespoons. And 4. I don't often follow recipes. I like to really get creative in the kitchen and use what I have. And then to that, I'm gonna add a pint of water. And I'm using a wooden mallet, kind of like crusher thing that you could make a mojito with or something. Non-alcoholic, of course, lime and mint and seltzer water with a little simple syrup, refreshing summer drink. But yeah, you're crushing like you would want to just smash some of the juices out of the cabbage. And it kind of gets it all nice and all the flavors are blending away. So you really want to just, again, have fun with this. Bring out your primal instincts, like you're grinding corn in a big mortar and pestle. You're releasing some of the liquids out of the cabbage, and you're blending in the salt, the dill, and if you're using peppercorns or mustard seeds, you're releasing some of those flavors. Just crushing it up. For a couple minutes, or until all the spices are evenly blended in. Then you're gonna start spooning it into your jars. If you don't have big, huge, half-gallon sized jars, use recycled jars from the last time you ate a jar of pickles. Save those, or any glass container that has a lid that you can easily store in the fridge, because eventually that's where this is going to go. Get all that goodness in there. And these are so addictive. These crunchy, dilly, garlicky chunks of cabbage are so healthy for you. You can try it raw before it even ferments. What I like to do is I like to crush it down a little bit so I can fill as much of the jar as possible. So you can really pack it in, just like that. And you can fit more. And you want to make sure you get some of the fluid in there, some of this salty brine. And depending on how much of the liquid you get from your vegetables, you can add more water to the top. And this will last in your fridge for months, but it probably won't last that long if you're a pickle fan. So you really want to cram in as much as you can. Some ancient traditions would have their crocks that they bury in the earth, and they would ferment, like the Korean culture traditionally would ferment them in ceramic clay crocks and bury them in the soil to keep them cool. So the longer it ferments, the richer, tangier flavor will evolve. I'm really getting to the bottom of this and fitting a lot in this jar. It's great that I'm doing this outside because I'll have very little to clean up, and most of this goes right into the soil, but you can use any kitchen counter space as well. You can really push down till you get the fluid coming up to the top. It's a very satisfying process. Here's the last of it. All right. So what I'm gonna do is add just a tiny bit of extra water I had saved to the top till it's about a ½ inch from the top of your jar. And I'm gonna add a tiny bit more salt in there to make sure that the very top has enough salt to keep the good bacteria strong and unsavory ones out. So this is gonna be your garlic dill pickle kraut that you wanna leave on your kitchen counter for 3 days in a warm spot. And then when you open it up and sample it, if you like it a little more tangy, you can let it sit for another couple days and then store it in your fridge. This is excellent as a condiment with meats. It helps and promotes digestion of your proteins and your harder to digest foods. Thank you so much for joining, and I will post the ingredients and the instructions on the recipe as well. Enjoy, and blessings of health to you and yours.